in panic mode trying to book pubs out on Sunday evening, but I think I might host it here in my own garden actually. So
Right,
yes,
right.
very excited. On the non-gaming front, it's very good news. So.
Exactly. The finals are played on Wembley as well, or?
Yes. So semi-finals and final will all be played in Wembley. So I mean, you could argue that it's been like an England tournament because apart from the quarterfinals, I think it was, or the quarterfinals, which was played in Rome. Every other game that England have played at Wembley. So, I think it was an interesting stat the other day that actually all the semi-finalists actually for the Euros actually all played their games at home for the group stages. So it goes to show that it does home advantage does count for quite a bit. So, but I'm not giving myself excuses. So, but it's more down to the play. But I'm yet to reach out to our dear friend Chris this morning to see how he is. So he's gone a bit quiet.
Yes, that's true. We have our Danish colleague Chris not doing super well today, but it was an exciting game yesterday. I mean, I don't think the Danes were expecting to win, so to say, but it was a fun game for sure.
No, I think it could have gone either way. It could have gone either way, to be honest. So the Danes are a very good team. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So what do you make of the final now, Rory? Do you think it's coming home? That's the question.
Wow. I think the Italians are very. I mean, both teams are going into the final with a great defensive record. I just hope that. I thought Pickford yesterday wasn't very confident in goal, so hopefully he'll get a bit better. And I hope Raheem Sterling still continues his amazing form. So, look, I don't know. I think it'll either be a close England win or a 3-0 win by Italy, probably, or something like that.
So. Fair enough. Karolina, you're in Greece. How is the hot weather treating you over there? 30+ degrees, I heard.
Good morning. Yes, it is pretty hot, but it's also very beautiful. So I'm working from here for a little bit of time. And, on sport news, I'd like to highlight the great news we had yesterday for all those that also watch Wimbledon. Pretty remarkable achievement from a very young Polish player yesterday, beating Federer in quarterfinal. The guy is 1997 born, so pretty young to beat the master and 6-0 in the last set. It's the biggest news in Poland. I think it's sweeten up our absolute failure in the Euros.
Well, fair enough. That's not bad either. And you are a tennis player, or an old tennis player, right, Karolina, if I remember correctly? So I can imagine you follow it closely.
Yes, I am. I used to play as a teenager, semi-professionally. So I watch all the tennis very, very closely, and I also have. Even though I'm Polish and I'm very happy for the Polish guy, it did break my heart because I'm a Federer fan forever. So I don't like to see him losing, and I was hoping that he's gonna have a couple of good years still. But it seems like I think maybe it's time.
Fair enough. So Karolina, that you just have to dust off the paddle racket then when you eventually come to Malta. That is all the hype is on the paddle courts these days. And we're planning actually at iGaming in October. We'll have a paddle tournament. So I'm expecting stiff competition there, Karolina. Just so you know.
For sure, I'll try to beat your ass in that one.
Story of my life. Anyway, good morning, Bogdan. To you as well. How are you doing this morning?
Good morning. Very fine, thank you. The weather, at least outside, is not that hot as it used to be, so it's very nice. And I'm a little bit disappointed over watching yesterday's game. There was definitely no penalty for England team, but well, that's what football is, and we need to accept it. So yeah, looking forward to the final, and probably in the final we will see some joy from the Italian fans.
Yeah, it's funny. In Malta, there's two camps. Malta used to be a British colony, but it's also very closely connected to Italy. And anytime Italy and England plays, there are bars that are closing down, the restaurants are closing down because every time they play, there's just lots of fights on the street. It's like real true tribalism in Malta, because Malta obviously isn't doing that well on their own. So most Maltese are either cheering for England or for Italy. I mean, being the finals and all, it's going to be a bit chaotic, that's for sure. But it'll be fun to follow. That's absolutely for sure. Peter, nice to have you back here as well. How are you doing this morning? How's everything going?
Morning, everyone. Life's good. I missed the last few sessions, had lots of things happening in work. But other than that, getting ready for Malta next week. Looking forward to see how Casino Beats is going to take place. And other than that, summer as usual. Everything's good. Hope you guys are well too.
Yeah, super good. So you're coming down for Casino Beats? Like, do you manage to secure a ticket and stuff like that?
Yeah. My partner and I were coming down, and just have to, let's say, put ourselves in front of people. Let's see how many people will get there. But yeah, should be a fun event.
Yeah, it seems like quite a few people are coming down. Our friend here from the clubhouse chat, Daniel Grasny, he was supposed to come to Malta, but he contracted COVID, unfortunately. He's doing well though. So, but unfortunately we won't have Daniel here. But I know that there are a lot of people coming, so it'll be really interesting to see how the event is going to take place with the restrictions in place and stuff like that. Hopefully it goes well, because it kind of paves the way for everyone else to organize as well. So yeah, good, Peter. Then keep some space in your calendar open.
Yeah, I'll definitely meet you in person.
Very good. Robert, good morning. How is everything on your front?
Good morning, everyone. All good here. Raining the last couple of days around Berlin, so that's it's really healthy for the plants. Now, living outside of Berlin, you care about the plants a lot more than before. So I actually enjoy rain in the summer a lot more than recently. So yeah, all good here.
Awesome, good stuff. And we spoke last week about kind of doing a little bit of an update on the German market and the new tax regime that is now come to effect. And after Nico's update, I want to jump in with that. So I'm really happy that you came in today, Robert. Actually, it'll be really interesting to hear kind of how the first week of the new tax regime in Germany has affected you guys, and if there's anything to share. So
sure, happy to.
We'll jump in. Very good. All right, and Nico, our dear co-moderator, you're back here again, and how is everything back in Munich?
So in Munich, it's all great. It's all great. So we finally passed over all our Euro 2020 games over to the UK and to Wembley, as Germany has not been involved into the Euros at all. We're just happy to host, or have been happy to host each and every one, to just show that even Germany can handle COVID, except handling some nice regulation. But I will just update each and every one of us later on. So it's all good. How are things in Malta, Pierre?
Oh yeah, I actually fled the heat wave for Malta, and I'm currently in Sweden at the moment, enjoying the nice and cool weather here. It's funny because when you're being raised in Sweden, it's always these like dream images of summer, and everyone is like traveling to the paradise islands of Mallorca or to Malta to come to the heat and stuff like that. But then when you live in actually these places, then you just want to escape the heat and then go to Sweden instead. So I'm quite happy being here in kind of a normal situation at the moment. So no masks, no anything like this, and life is pretty good here. Things are seemingly heading the right direction. So very happy with that, I must say. Guys, before we jump into the legendary weekly update by our own Nico here, I just wanted to kind of give a little bit of a hint of the bullet points that we have discussed, me, Karolina, and Nico, for today. We want to obviously kind of bring up the Kindred and Relax Gaming acquisition. Basically Kindred acquiring Relax Gaming the other week. Would be really interesting to hear what the panel thinks about that now that the dust has settled a week later. Also, as just mentioned, we'd love to have an update on the German tax situation by Robert and Nico, perhaps. And also, we'd be super curious to talk about, there's been a lot of M&A activity, obviously, over the last, not just year, but over the last couple of years now. And the M&A activity is obviously not slowing down, and especially it's being fueled on the American side of things. And we'd love to have a discussion around what the future M&A opportunities are. Like, what companies do we think are ripe to be acquired, and how do we see the future M&A activities moving? So these are just a couple of points that I would like to bring up. Also, I can see that our friend Chris Looney is in the audience today. I just wanted to say congratulations to Chris Looney as well for joining Bragg Gaming as the new commercial director. Sorry, not commercial director. It's
CCO.
CCO.
Exactly.
Yes, that's correct.
Exactly.
That's correct. It used
Congrats,
to be
Chris.
commercial director. And also bringing with him Giles Potter as well, both the guys from Red Tiger. Obviously, Peter, you know these guys very, very well. So yeah.
Warms my heart. Warms my heart.
I would say it's also a big congratulations to Bragg, actually, because these days with talent, it isn't as much as to congratulate the people, but it's to congratulate the companies who are able to secure the right talent. So congrats, Bragg.
Correct. I'll join you to that.
Very cool. Be interesting to see what's going to happen on that front. Also, before we jump over to Nico, I just wanted to say, if anyone wants to join us on stage, just put up your hand. We'll welcome you on stage, and you're super free to ask questions or share your opinion, whatever you feel like. That's okay with us, and that would be great. So, Nico, I know that you're prepared this an absolutely incredibly interesting, fantastic update for us this week. What do you have in store? What can you tell us, Nico? What's happening in the iGaming industry? I'm super curious.
Okay, thank you for the nice introduction as well. With this introduction, in the end, I can just fail, right? No, just kidding. So, from the German nightmare, just call it the German nightmare. So, as already introduced last week on a short notice with the experience a friend of mine had with preparing each and every of their land-based casino to participate in the Oasis, which is the German self-exclusion system, and that this has been launched or relaunched or postponed to August, beginning of August. Now we have an official press release that the Oasis system will launch all over Germany by I think it's the 2nd of August. Another thing we already see in Germany is Betfair. They exited the German sports betting market as soon as the new gambling treaty became active by 1st of July. If you are familiar with Betfair and their offerings, they already shut down their sports exchange by 2012 when the new tax regime with the 5% taxes on the wagers has been put into place. So as of now, Betfair, they fully exited the German market with their sports betting offerings when they became their own kind of operator. Heading over to the US and Canada, Illinois sports betting revenue has been down in May, but they still handled 505 million in wagers, which in May, which is also down from roughly 540 million wagers they handled in April. So Maine moves closer to sports, to mobile sports betting. If you're not familiar with Maine as a state, they have a GDP of around $70 billion, which is a little bit smaller than the Ivory Coast and slightly bigger than Croatia. So for sure, a state we should have on our minds as well. Then the tribes of Mohegan, they are based in Connecticut, and they striked a new betting and iGaming deal with FanDuel. So Connecticut as a state is roughly 300 billion on a GDP, which is as big as Finland. So what has FanDuel done? They are replacing Kambi, and now FanDuel will provide sports betting for the Mohegan instead of Kambi. Why is this so interesting? Because on another note, two congressmen, they proposed a bill to remove the so-called federal barriers to online tribal gaming. So two congressmen from New York and California have proposed a federal bill, the House Bill 4308, clarifying that all wagers placed with servers on tribal lands may be considered gambling on tribal lands and regulated as such. This will lead to, or this could result in all legal challenges to proposals in Florida, which is gambling owned by the Seminole tribe, could be dismissed. So once this bill, House Bill 4308, might come into law, this will open up even more states in the US as well. Then to the M&A side, the Rank Group, they are topping up their pockets with securing additional liquidity of 25 million pounds in revolving credit facility with Lloyds of London. Then on my weekly wrap-up, I have the Kindred topic as well, but I'm pretty sure we will just handle this on an even further notice. So I will just skip this topic. And then what we already claimed like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it's a big merger or buyout from the TAPCORP group based in Australia. So what has happened on this topic? So TAPCORP, they just released demerging plans to split their wagering and lotteries operations. And Entain, they already filed an offer worth 2.2 billion, and also BetMakers offer 2.5 billion for the overall offerings of TAPCORP. So we might see that this overall takeover might be put to rest as it's now on the line. So heading over to regulation, Betson has been ordered to stop operating in Norway as well. I'm pretty sure, Pierre, you have some insights for the Betson group as well. So I will just put this aside. Then we see two gambling tax bills come into place. First of all, the Ukraine Finance Committee has finalized the gambling tax bill for all verticals based on 10% taxation, and Kenya provides an amnesty to all bookmakers as well, to lowering their tax rate to 7.5%, which has been initially 10%. Then heading over to Malta, the Malta gambling sector has seen a record growth, a growth rate on a year-to-year basis of 15.3%, and totaling a valuation of roughly 1 billion euro. And then heading over to Greece, there has been another B2B license handed out to B2B gaming services, and they have been granted a license by the Hellenic Gaming Commission, HGC, as well. So on a weekly basis, we see new licenses being given out to operators and suppliers in Greece as well. So thanks for the update. That's the update from my end, and there are so many topics we can just deepen a little bit. So heading over to you again, Pierre or Karolina.
Thank you, Nico. Very good update as per usual, Nico, and thanks for putting this together week by week. Always interesting to hear. I just wanted to make a note here. You mentioned Betsson here was ordered to stop operating in Norway. Essentially, they got a legal letter from the Norwegian Gaming Authority ordering them to stop because the argument is that Betsson or some of their brands are clearly targeting the Norwegian players and even offering gambling services in Norwegian kroners. However, this is not the only time the Norwegian Gaming Authority have ordered an operator to stop operating in Norway. This happened to Kindred as well in 2019, I believe. And Kindred's reply was that they feel that this goes against European law, essentially, for Norway to make this demand. So we yet have to see, I think, a reply from Norway, a reply from Betsson. But Betsson has had a pretty shitty week, let's say. They were ordered by the Norwegian Gaming Authority to stop operating in Norway. They have been forced to drop the poker product in Germany because of the new 5.3% tax on turnover on poker product. And also they lost the CTO recently, Peter Frey, who just today or yesterday it was announced that he's now joining Genius Sports. So not a fun week for Betsson, in other words. Speaking of Germany, Robert, I'd love to start here today. We spoke last week about the fact that the new tax regimen in Germany, very controversial, 5.1, 5.3% tax on turnover, have just come into effect. And now that a week has passed, Robert, with you operating Hölle Games, obviously specialized in Germany, what has your week been like, and how has this new tax regimen affected you guys?
Thank you, Pierre. First of all, it's I think I said this last time as well, that just because it's very close to me, want to reiterate it as well. It's very interesting and almost half personal to me a little bit. I've been in the industry for 20 years now. I was there in the beginning with Bwin, who was then the market leader. I've been in phone calls back then in like 2002 or something like that, where they negotiated a deal with an East German license. So the Bwin actually was not just licensed via Gibraltar, but also via an East German license. And 2006 happened, not just UIGEA, but also several other countries joined in, where a crackdown on online gambling really happened, where the co-CEOs were arrested in France of Bwin, and where the German authorities were so confused, and the executive branch was also so confused about what's legal, what's not legal, what's allowed, what's not allowed, that there were such extreme events that, like, the most extreme was a regular person who was riding a bicycle, wearing a Bet and Win Bwin t-shirt back then, was arrested by the police for illegal advertising, let go after like 2-3 hours until they realized that that's a little bit too extreme, or even not correct. But basically fading in also what's different now, really, or what's going to be different now. The media has always been extremely negative in Germany. And we all know that the legal situation is at least complex. But obviously, as an iGaming industry, we always lean into the sort of the EU part of the discussion. And so far the last 20 years, 22, 23 years, it worked for the iGaming industry, and it hasn't stopped the iGaming industry. So that there must be some truth to it, at least, yeah. But the media always portrayed it negative, always called it illegal. The EU argument was dismissed as a loophole, really, in media. When I talk to my network, because my network, my friends' network, not my business network, they knew, the industry I'm working in, and they all knew that it's illegal. They were told it's illegal, and they refrained from playing. Back then in sports obviously more relaxed these days, but obviously casino, they all know it's illegal. So my hope is a little bit, and that's changed, of course, now with the 1st of July. It's a very, I think, for me, positive feeling. It's what I call, I mean, we were legal before, kind of, I think, yeah. But I call it now, we are extremely legal now with having wide operation in Germany. And I think going forward, next 6, 12, 18 months, the media, the German press can't really label it illegal anymore. They can maybe do some stuff about, negative press, and that's always attractive, creates clicks about consumer protection and so on. But it's a new age now. Everything is casino is now legal, and I think you will have a chance now converting offline players a lot more at scale to online than you had before, because all the offline players also knew and were told, and got the propaganda machine of Germany, which still works, that it's shouldn't be played. And so what happened in the last week? Unfortunately, the data is there's not much data to look at just yet, simply because several big brands opted to go slow. Meaning, yes, from 1st of July, the tax law is implemented, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to switch off games on 1st of July. You can opt, and that's what apparently a few larger brands decided to do, to fade out games rather than to cut games, meaning they are operating some games at a loss in order to maybe hold on to some players longer than other brands, and then maybe fade out during July or during August into lower RTB games or in different solutions. So that's what we're seeing, and I don't really see some access to numbers, and some people tell me, but I think if you want to sum up, like, let's say if there's a magic wand and there's one rule which you want to abolish in the German regulation, and you can only choose one rule, it's actually not the tax, it's more the 1,000 euros per month. So that's actually more damaging to the business than the 5% street tax, really. So what have we seen? We have seen the people, the land-based companies being more aggressive. Star Games is back in Germany. That's a big one. Back in the day, unofficial numbers, nobody really knew, but there's unofficial numbers floating around from back in the day. They had just in the German market 300-400 million GGR, which is pretty insane. Book of Ra is back. So besides a legal battle with the known companies, they finally can offer Book of Ra legally in Germany again, which is the best attack against copies, of course, providing the original game to Star Games, and I think they also license it now to other suppliers, other operators. Let's see. I'm not too sure. I looked at some sites. Bwin made a very hard cut last Friday. I saw 200 games online instead of, I think, like 3,000. So that must have been intense for the player base and for the revenue. I don't obviously have insights there. Hence, some other large brands decided to go slow in that regard. And what a couple of brands have done, which is a problem from a consumer protection law side of things, that I think some know, some don't, is they have tried to save the portfolio and charging the tax on a wallet level, meaning not really inside the game. Yes, your money drops faster inside the game. You see it on your balance, but they are basically taking on each bet on the platform level, not on RGS or the game level. Take the 5.3% and have a disclaimer in the game on the top or bottom. That's, however, actually illegal in terms of consumer protection laws. There was a huge case, I don't know when, a couple of years back or so, in the travel industry in Germany, where they tried to, sort of sneakishly add some costs to your purchase. And it was stated in terms and conditions. Now there are some suppliers quite exposed, I feel, because it's a very clear legal case for a player to go to a lawyer and go take a side to court for this 5.3%. It's not a lot of money, but maybe it adds up over time if they have this solution too long. So, and I think some operators know this, and they take the deliberate risk to say, well, I rather have this risk right now and save the portfolio and keep some customers on there. And then what lines, meaning, yes, that's the 1st of July, but nobody has a license yet. And the tax law, however, is clearly implemented. So a couple of operators, the edgier ones, let's call it like this, take the legal stand, and not Curacao operators, the MGA operators, take the legal stand, well, yes, I'm paying the tax, but I don't have a license yet. So why should I be compliant with the German regulation if I don't have a license yet, while I have an EU license? So we will have another few months of a weird situation where you have maybe black and white, but you also have in between, I wouldn't call it gray, but sort of different compliance interpretation and different legal interpretations of the current sort of laws in place. And that's going to be interesting because, when the timelines are long, let's say everyone gets a license by September, then it was a short period. And then after September, this cat and mouse game, this legal cat and mouse game is over too. But if the licenses take till January, February, March, April, who knows? Yeah. I mean, you change customer behavior. Customers then will stick to the brand they have been playing for the last 6-9 months, especially when after that 6-9 months, when licenses are issued, you have to go through the whole identification process as well again with this other side. So the hurdle to switch, the switching costs just became higher because of the regulation as well. One more point, maybe one final point. I think it's also going to be a market where the big ones will win. There might be a situation, of course, the big ones already are, because they have the money to put the 5 million euros for the license down, they have an advantage. But that could also be, not sure if it's a loophole or if it's just basically 100% perfectly fine and legal, is when you have the cash, you put down 5 million, and that sort of allows you to have a player spend 1,000 euros at your site. And currently the system isn't in place that you have a centralized database. There are some operators, I think, thinking to get a second license, put on another 5 million to extend the spend basically until the time frame. That's going to be some while. A centralized database with all the spendings exists in Germany. So so long story short, it's we are after the 1st of July, but clarity and stability and so on hasn't really arrived yet in the market.
Robert, question for me. Obviously, we're at a fork in the road where people going completely legal and paying their tax and their 5.3% and the 90% VAT, and there's another foot in the camp going non-legal, using other games and using different payment methods and not paying a license and still believing there's a big opportunity in an unregulated grey way of attacking the German market. Have you seen much activity on that dark side of the equation? And what's the general word in the street on how many people are pulling out or how many people are trying to find nefarious ways around the block?
So I think there's more to this. I think there is clearly black operators, Curacao and so on, or whatever island or whatever region you're servicing from. But I have a feeling that the most sort of, let's say, non-white revenue will be from white companies. It will be from white companies interpreting the rules differently for a long period of time. It will be from white companies basically trying to find ways to get a second license. That's still white, but there's white companies who are maybe saying, well, maybe I can shift players into a brand which I own, and that's technically an MGA license, but let's see how long I can sustain it. I have talked, basically, your question, you don't really hear an answer from the operators I deal with, of course, because I deal mostly with the German facing and the German publicly facing companies. So in terms of my network, people I speak day to day, it's probably mostly a white audience. But I also talk to affiliates quite a bit, and the big affiliate networks I know and are operating in Germany, they have said to me they intend to go wide as well. So the affiliates tend to go wide. So if affiliates, if major affiliate networks will lean into the white market more than, taking advertising from gray market, black market operators, it's gonna be hard to operate black in Germany, I think.
Yeah, man.
So
I
what
look
do you,
at what's happened in the Swedish. Sorry, I look at what happened in the Swedish market, and yes, you had your Swedish regulated operators who are working all above board and being fined for having an under 18 player come off the bench in the last Hellenic match, which is ridiculous. But I would, my guess, 30% of the Swedish market, 40% of the Swedish market is still coming from a Kanawaki licensed or MJ licensed operator who simply doesn't have their site in Swedish, and they're happily taking Swedish customers. And I'm just wondering sort of what that level, in my discussions with operators, the big what if on the 30th of June, what do you do now? Do you block German? Do you do this? You set up a second site? There's a lot of operators out there who are trying to work out a way that don't want to go through this sort of white process and all the restrictions, and trying to work out ways and working with game providers to not have the different things in there as well, which is dancing on thin ice, as we all know. But if we're looking at Sweden and the Netherlands as well, many operators out there who don't care and will try and maximise their revenues in the short term. So it's an interesting situation.
Yeah, and there's I think three numbers, yeah. GGR, amount of players, and amount of operators who are in the white zone and in the black zone, let's say. Obviously, you need just very few players generating very few VIP players, generating a lot of GGR and being sort of at a relevant size that it's a problem for Germany or the German regulation. I just can say from the people I speak to, and they are more sort of a little bit more public companies, not in terms of publicly listed, but sort of communication public. They're all intend to operate wide. But I agree, and obviously all of us have read the Gold Media study, which says with this regulation we will see 51-49 split basically. I have a feeling, and that I think I said last time as well, I think it has a lot to do with sentiment and player base in Germany. So the sentiment was negative and illegal. Now it's slowly going to change into not a positive one, but it's allowed and I can do it. State lotteries are going to join as well. So it's going to be quite interesting because state lotteries in Germany, there are 16 because for each state, and each one, funny enough, can compete now with entire Germany. So that's going to be quite interesting for them, that they suddenly can take customers from entirely Germany, not just from the state. And once state lotteries join in, and that's a form of communication too, and a group of audience will know it's legal. Big corporations like Bild newspaper and ProSieben also sort of provide they don't have casino yet, but I think they will provide a sort of signal to players that it's legal. But I think you're obviously right, yeah. The question is, I want to take some bets almost, like where do we land in a year's time in terms of generalization, and will we actually get some numbers from someone which are which we can trust as well. But I would agree 60-70% would be I think 70% would be a positive case for the German regulation if it's 70% white.
Nico, you had a comment as well here, then we're gonna jump over to the next topic. I'm a bit mindful of time.
yeah,
Super.
yeah. So from the last numbers which I have seen from a gaming operator providing games to the German market, and to answer your question as well, Tim. So what they have seen is so the top 10 revenue drivers had been Germany kind of operating businesses. As soon as the new law came into place, the same operators shifted away from their German premises and handed this over to their Curacao license. So this is one of the shifts we already see, but this is based on the numbers which I had a peek at last week. Actually this week by the 6th of July, but I'm pretty sure we will see even more and further revenues shifting away from Germany to either Curacao license entities or entities licensed anywhere else except in Germany.
Brilliant. Thanks for that, Nico, and thanks, Robert, for the comprehensive update. Very, very interesting. And let's continue the updates on the progression of the new German tax law. I want to jump into next subject of today, which is Kindred's acquisition of Relax Gaming that was announced almost exactly a week ago, just after the last Clubhouse chat actually. Very interesting, of course, and it seems very much that Kindred is gearing up to aim to become a tier one operator essentially, by being able to control their own content and so on and so forth. So I would like to ask the panel, what do you guys think about this move? Is it a hit or miss type of thing? And perhaps Bogdan, what do you make of this acquisition? What's your thoughts and initial reaction to the acquisition?
Well, this is something what actually I have been expecting. And if you are looking into the gaming scene, if you look into other operators, but also the content providers and the platforms, this is something what is inevitable. So it's not a big surprise. There are other companies who are gearing up and trying to get more. Trying to grasp more, let's put it that way, the territories with their actions, and I agree. Sorry.
That's okay, Bogdan. You can take.
Yeah, I got a frog in the throat.
Take a minute, and we'll come back to you, Bogdan. I know how it feels when you manage to swallow in the wrong pipe, so to say. But Karolina, you did a podcast here last week as well with Simon Hammond of Relax Gaming, obviously on this topic. What did you learn from Simon, and what's your thoughts in general on the acquisition?
Yeah, I think it was super nice of Simon to jump on a call almost immediately after the deal was announced. Obviously, they are all super happy, over the moon. From what I've learned is that, I mean, it's no surprise, but it doesn't seem like Relax would change the way it operates. It will remain non-exclusive to Kindred. It's a very powerful distribution channel with a lot of integrations with operators and game studios, so that will remain as is. The team will stay intact as well. I think the management of Relax actually retained 7% of the company within the deal, so they will continue to operate with the current management. And I think the big thing is the US, which Simon couldn't talk about in great detail, but it's a no-brainer that Relax isn't in the US just yet, and Kindred is a great facilitator of being able to go in. And I think it's an interesting dynamic of big operators starting to control not only the distribution channel, but also sort of tapping into opportunities for creation of exclusive content without the burden of operating their own studio, because they hand it off to people who have the expertise and experience in that, but also operators going into B2B businesses, because if Relax remains in the current business model, it will continue as a B2B, and I'm expecting more of this happening in the US especially. I really wouldn't be surprised if we hear similar type of deal soon enough. We've got Caesars potentially as someone that would fit their strategy. DraftKings, they already commented on possibly doing that in the sports side, and there is no reason why they wouldn't want to pursue similar business model on the casino side. And I think it's also interesting that the acquisition happens regardless of the fact that Relax doesn't have sportsbooks, because there has been this pre-assumption from the industry that what sells currently is a holistic portfolio where you've got casino, bingo. Sorry, can you go away from here for a second? It's just on. Sorry, these are my child with his friend. Yeah, so sorry, I totally lost the train of thought, but I was just saying that I think it's an interesting deal where it shows you don't necessarily need to have a full portfolio of products. You don't need to have a sports book. You can have just a really well-functioning casino, and Relax has been growing on a variety of fronts, not only as a distribution channel, but also as a game provider. They've won multiple awards, including some awards from game forums and player forums. So yeah, I think it was one of the most interesting companies. It was a matter of time before someone acquires them, and with Kindred owning already 33% of it. I wonder whether this was more of a defense game than a proactive game. Obviously, again, Simon wouldn't be able to comment on that, so I didn't even ask him, but I do know that there were other buyers in the process. I also heard rumors that there were buyers that were offering higher price. So, this could have been defense game from Kindred to make sure they don't lose a business they're invested in and control over it to a certain extent. But also a strategic choice by Relax, clearly looking at Kindred, at the trust, at the risk already, at knowing them as an investor, and perhaps feeling that this is a more suitable buyer to take them to the US and some others that were in the race.
Thank you, Karolina. I have a question for Tim as well. As a operator, is it scary that the content creators are being acquired by competing operators more and more? And consolidation in general in that space?
Consolidation in general is obviously an issue, but in general, I mean, most people who have an aggregator arm, they're doing it with a commercial concept in view. That they're not doing it to try and hurt other operators and squeeze them or whatnot. They're trying to obviously have an aggregator which can make money and can provide a service and make a couple of percentage points on providing the distribution there. So I don't think an operator owning an aggregator is an issue. I think it will be run at arm's length because naturally it wouldn't be accepted into the market if it wasn't being run at arm's length. And I do believe an aggregator's goal is to provide on a B2B level as widely as possible. And it's all about distribution and turnover. So there would be not a very good reason to restrict the ability for a B2B operator coming through your aggregator with what they can and can't do. Now, that said, in terms of consolidation, I think the play here from Kindred is nearly following on from a evolution mindset. I was in Gibraltar a couple of weeks ago and I was talking to a few bigger operators down there or B2B suppliers down there, and they're also having very, very similar thoughts on how do we rapidly and quickly grow our full ecosystem of services being provided rather than sort of trying to build it ourselves. So there is a lot of M&A activity going in there, and it does make sense to have an aggregator arm as a string to your bow as well. For an operator, I think that the smart move is to sort of take games from 2 or 3 aggregators, if that is your move, to not try and integrate 60 developers in individually. So yes and no. I think it's always diversify your supply. So have 3 or 4 aggregators coming in that can supply your games and have a little bit of internal competition in that regard. Don't just rely on one aggregator, but consolidation is going to happen. So how do you do it? By protecting yourself with a plan B would be my main thought here.
So as the founder of Coingaming Group, you guys obviously big operator and so on and so forth. Like, do you discuss as well about potentially going into the content game, Tim, or are you laser focused on this driving your?
We've got a few strings to our bow, Pierre. So, we have invested in Hub88, which is an aggregator. And from a YOLO perspective, we've invested in about 6 or 7 slot companies. That's from a purely investment point of view that our prerogative, we can help those slot companies grow their distribution by being a friend of the family, if I can say that. But of course, those slot companies and that aggregator, its goal is to increase its distribution and turnover as widely as possible. So I think it's a naturally good synergy to have an aggregator next to your operation at arm's length, whereby when there's an issue, you can put the aggregation team or the slot company team with your casino operations team and get 2 people in a room who are friends and try and work out what's the most efficient and most effective way forward to push this operation. You're removing the barriers of communication there that, your operation is going to have a closer discussion with the supply of those games, which is naturally a good thing. And I would hope the more efficient you can make that aggregator and those slot companies for your operation will help other operators as well. So yeah, I think it's a really good idea, and it's something we've invested into a number of years ago for the exact reason of having things nice and close, but still always at arm's length, that it's got its own goals and ambitions. So you're not letting an operator control what the aggregator does or control what the slot company does, because that's a very old-fashioned mindset of nearly blocking out what doesn't work and just doing it for the benefit of the operator. On the other hand, there's a lot of companies like the Stars Group, like Entain, and Paddy Power, who all have their own internal studios who want to build exclusive content and not push that out on a wider B2B level. I'm still up in the air whether that's the smartest move, but from our perspective, we like to build, we like to grow, we like to invest in the companies, and then if it works for us, we can take it to the market on a B2B level.
Great, Tim. Thank you. Robert, a question for you as well. Obviously, as the founder of Hölle Games, a content provider as well, you are looking at obviously Relax being acquired by Kindred, Big-Thing Gaming, Red Tiger, Sugi being acquired by Evolution. You could only assume that the likes of DraftKings are also looking into kind of acquiring their own content providers. Is the long-term play here, Robert, do you think, to be acquired by an operator or be acquired by or become a massive content provider? What's your thoughts on Hölle Games and its future? Is it an exit that you're looking at?
We are too early for that kind of thinking, really. We are young. We incorporated in September. We are bootstrapped. It's all our own cash, so we're not sort of supercharge the company with a lot of investment. We think that's a path that works for us. And right now at Hölle Games, we are just focused on landing in Germany fully. There is a couple of small opportunities, not small, but there's a couple of opportunities for the US, and then we see where it goes. This is sort of thank you for that question. But it's too early to ask that question to us, I think. Generally speaking, I like these kinds of news, of course, because that sort of puts a little bit more spotlight on small suppliers. And obviously operators then want to strengthen when there's too much power concentrated. They want to strengthen ties with smaller and independent studios. We're fully independent. I think that's also quite rare. So I think it spells generally good news, but I think next 6, 12, 18 months, we have a lot of work to do. We have a lot of work to do. No difference really for us. And long term, I just want to have a good workplace, really, and a good workplace for everyone in the team. And that's number one. And I'm happy to do this for a long time. So I don't have no short play here.
Brilliant. It was a good try, Robert. I was trying to dig a little bit, so thank you. And Peter, I mean, obviously coming from Red Tiger, and you are building the next iGaming rocket ship, as you put it yourself. What's the ambition here on your end, and how do you see these states of play that are taking place right now? Dynamics are shifting, consolidation is happening in the marketing. How is this going to affect you?
Well, yeah, I haven't presented yet what I'm building officially, but that's coming soon. That's coming in September. Well, the M&A obviously is going to keep driving forward, and US is a big opportunity for that. And obviously, it gives a shortcut to enter the market. But yeah, look, like I'm more looking into operator field now, and as an operator, of course, if a conglomerate like Evolution owns so many brands, then you're a bit squeezed. But for the industry itself, I think it's good. Like it's going to bring somewhat forward. And as Tim said, Tim has also lots of investments in these fields. So I think it's just the nature of the business, and the big ones will just keep buying and adding to the portfolio, and then the smaller ones will just try to, let's say, find a way to get to the train or get to join the wolf pack or something. But exciting times. Definitely some more acquisitions to be seen, at least in the next 18 months.
Peter, we are among friends here. Is there anything you can say about your launch in September? Is there anything you can hint to the operator, supplier, anything?
No. As I said, it's a gaming platform operator, so we have our own platform, and we have a few brands, but it will be a bit more public, and a bit more public in 2 months' time.
Come on, give us a hint. Give us a hint. Come on.
Tim, come on. I'll tell you in a few weeks' time when I'm over in Tallinn.
Perfect. Looking forward to it. In vino veritas, yeah?
Sorry?
In vino veritas. With
Yeah.
alcohol, you shall speak the truth.
Well, yeah. If you can pay for it in crypto, it's even better, right?
Tim, invite him to Bombay.
Everybody's welcome. Everybody's welcome. Yes.
I've actually been in Bombay before, early stage, but that's a secret.
So you know the drill.
It's real, it's there, and I'll confirm in yeah, probably end of July that it's even better than I was last time there.
Very good.
Fantastic. All right, Peter. Yeah, thanks for a little bit hint at least. When you have more information, that would be very interesting to hear. In general.
I'll definitely let you know.
Yeah, Peter, you mentioned evolution here, and obviously operators not wanting to stand and follow one supplier. So that begs the question: are we seeing a Playtech 2.0 forming here in terms of evolution? Do you think do you think there is a risk that we'll see kind of the rise and fall of evolution, the empire, the Roman iGaming empire?
Wow, that's a very interesting question. I would say no, because well, it's a no. Yes and no. Like my let's say not political, but my personal question answer would be maybe, because it's just the cycle of the companies. But for now, where Evolution stands, it's hands down the best product, the best team which you can get, and they're just killing it. But who knows what's going to happen in 10 years? Maybe there's going to be someone else. Maybe microgaming on air will be even better. But I would still say my favorite is Evolution.
Good. I'm asking for a friend who owns shares, so he wanted to know if he should keep them or not.
Well, no investment advice here, but between us friends speaking, I would say they're still good for at least a few years.
Brilliant. I don't know if anyone has any insights here on this topic. I'm mindful of time. We only have a couple of minutes. The US numbers are being released. I think all the numbers from May have now been released from all states, and as an outsider here, I'm not I'm just a layman in understanding the dynamics here. But it seems to me that we aren't really seeing this like massive exponential growth in the US market that happened last year. So I wanted to see if anyone in the panel have the same feeling or any insights in predicting the US numbers and if they are living up to the expectations here. I'm not sure if there is anyone who can come with some input here, perhaps.
Well, I'll have the first stab at this one. I don't have any sort of intimate knowledge with numbers, only what I'm reading publicly. But my view is that the American market, it's a 5 to 10 year plan. And I think there's that many long strategists taking their strategic play there. I don't expect it to just blow up in the first year and be, my God, what's going on here? I think it'll be a very much frog in the boiling water episode, that if we look back in 10 years' time and you comfortably see the American market is the biggest white legal gaming market in the world, no one will be surprised. But it won't be just this, my God, turn on the water tap and watch what's going on. I think it will be a very structured rollout as all the states get their stuff together. I think I've just read before, Entain control 29% of the iGaming market across 4 states, 350 million in revenue. That's very, very decent numbers, and I think it's just going to gradually grow over time. So it's a slow burning one, which will be a very structured rollout. There's a lot of marketing spend going on, obviously, right now. Very quickly trying to do a land grab, but the numbers and the volume, it's very much of a long-term investment from those operators that in 10 years we'll look back and go, wow, that's what we expected. It just won't be a knee-jerk reaction and a spike in revenue overnight.
Yeah, I'll be very curious to hear to see the quarterly reports, especially from the likes of DraftKings. What's going to happen in Q2, because their valuation in their organization is very much based on this exponential growth, and the market expecting the numbers to grow exponentially, because it doesn't seem that there is this exponential growth happening like it happened last year. on the revenue side. But I could be wrong. I'm just looking at very basic numbers here. Bogdan, I saw that you wanted to chime in here as well.
Yes, just want to add 2 cents to what Tim said, and also some maybe not an insight from the US market, but at least from various discussion I had with some officials and with some representatives of operators and the big conglomerates running things in the US. They are currently as some sort of a white label. I do agree with this, but don't be mistaken that they are working very, very hard to become the largest iGaming market in the world, which we can for sure say that they are on the best road. So I would say, coming back a little bit to this, what has been discussed in terms of a Kindred and in terms of the evolution, if there is anyone else who is going to take those companies in the future, I think we inevitably going to see this kind of operations coming from the US, because looking historically and also looking on the power of this market, I simply can't imagine the situation that we will not have one major player who will be building this empire in the US. And it doesn't matter if it's going to be through the acquisition or simply pumping a heck a lot of money into this one particular company. But we definitely going to see in a few years' time some leader coming out from the US. So European companies are aware of that, and they are already somehow prepping. So all the NMAs which we are witnessing right now are, in at least to some extent, are answering to this potential threat, which is just around the corner. It's that's what's going to happen.
Right, thank you, Bogdan. Martin Carlson, the CEO of Evolution, he predicted that the US market could potentially be 20 times as big as the European market. I mean, that's a big statement from him. Obviously, being a CEO of a listed organization, he needs to be very careful with his words here, because the shareholders are obviously listening carefully to this. So I guess as a final little question today, can the US market be that big? Can it be 20 times the size of the European market?
Absolutely.
Yes, I think has a very big potential and a very big chance to be so.
Okay, great. That's a straightforward and a good statement. I like that. Very good. Well, we'll start summarizing a little bit today, guys. It's been another great week. Really nice to have you guys back here. Honestly, this is a bit of a highlight for me personally every single week to be able to ask you guys these sometimes rudimentary, sometimes high level questions, but it's there's always an answer here, which makes things always interesting. So yeah, with that, want to thank you guys, and also mention that the session today has been recorded, like we always do on the Thursdays. It will be published in our social media channels, but if anyone has anything that you would like to take out of this chat, we very much respect the privacy of the Clubhouse ethos. So obviously just let me know and we'll make sure to edit that out. With that, I would like to just wish you all a great week here, a great day ahead. And Tim, also thank you for doing the podcast with me the other day. If anyone wants to check in like the worst jokes in the history of the podcast world, just go on YouTube and put in Tim Heath and iGaming Next, and and you'll be able to enjoy that podcast. Yeah,
it was very fun. It was good. Thanks, Pierre.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. And I wish you all a great week ahead. Like we spoke about early in the session as well, it's Casino Beats in Malta in the middle of July here. It starts on the 14th and 15th. So anyone who is coming down to Malta, just let me know. I know that Peter is coming as well. Some other guys are coming. So if you want to have an in-person Clubhouse session, I think that would be interesting to organize. But until then, take care and have a good day ahead. Thank you, everyone.
Cheers, guys. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Ciao.